Welcome to Secrets to Alignment with Savannah Schaefer. I am here to equip you with the belief and energy to make your dreams a reality. Take this time to fill your cup and align with the most vibrant version of you.
Hi, friends. Okay. Hello. I hope that you are having the best day, the best night. You're enjoying wherever that you are currently at, and you're soaking up the present moment, of course. Today's podcast is going to be all about my journey to where I'm at currently in my life. And I felt like this episode was very necessary to film because I want you guys to know who is behind the mic. Who is Savannah Schaefer? What do we not know about her? I feel like I share so much on social media, but you guys only see kind of the current things that I'm doing and the habits that I'm up to and things like that. But you don't really know all about the past and the experiences that I've been through and what has created and shaped the woman that I am today. I want to peel back that curtain for you and just give you that inside scoop on how I got to where I am. And I want to take it all the way back to literally my childhood. Okay, let's start there. So I come from a family of 6 kids. I have my parents, and then I have 5 other siblings. I have 2 brothers, and then I have 3 sisters, and I am the oldest girl, and then I have my 2 older brothers above me. And I actually was born in Ohio. I grew up in Ohio, and I actually lived in a really, really beautiful home growing up. My dad was a business owner. He owned a mortgage broker's company. Then my mom was kind of doing things for promotional products all around Ohio. I grew up with both of my parents working, and I was just a little girl frolicking around with my siblings, playing every single summer. I have so many memories of us growing up, just being kids together and just having a great freaking time. But a lot of times it was just us kids. The biggest memories that I have is literally just of me and my siblings all together, hanging out and doing funny things and pranks and all of the stuff. I lived in Ohio until I was about 9 years old. At 9 years old, it was 2010, and it was right after the market crashed. My dad actually lost his business, and so we ended up moving to Las Vegas. And that was such a big shift for me. We were moving from this massive house, a really big house, like 10,000 square feet. 10,000 square feet. 7 or 8 bedrooms, and we had 10 bathrooms in this house. It was a mansion, and it was so normal to me. I would go to my friend's house, and their houses were just as big or bigger. Everybody had movie theaters. It was so normal to me, and I really just didn't know that people lived any other way. I just knew what was in front of me. And then we moved to Vegas in 2010, and when we moved, I was 9 years old, and we moved into a much smaller house. Going from a 10,000 square foot house in Ohio with like tons of land, moving into a house that you're literally butted up against your neighbors. And in my mind, in my child mind, it was a really big drastic change. So we moved to Vegas, and I'm making all new friends. I'm in 3rd grade. I'm going by the name Nina, and sometimes Savannah. Nina was my childhood name. It's the name that my family uses whenever they refer to me. I'm Nina. And then as for everyone else, when I moved to Vegas, I just decided, you know what, 3rd grade, I'm going to have everyone call me Nina. Then 4th grade, I changed it to Savannah because I was like, I want it to be more mature. And I think that Savannah is more mature because it's my long full name. Then in 5th grade, I had everyone call me Nina again. Then after that, it was just I'm Nina and Savannah, and everyone knew me as different things going into middle school. I went to middle school and I started dating boys, going to the ice skating rink like every single weekend. That was always my place that I would hang out with all of my friends, and of course boys too. I loved being in relationships and things. I was in cheer 7th grade and 8th grade. I was cheer captain 8th grade. I always was so in with all of my teachers, all of my administration. everybody kind of knew me, but I think they kind of knew me as like the girl who was always in drama. I was always in the dean's office. I was the girl that was probably telling the teacher, like I was snitching on people, to be honest. Like I didn't like when other people were bullying people, or especially me. Oh my gosh, the amount of bullying that I went through in middle school was outrageous. But anytime that somebody did something to me, other people were fighting. Other people would literally get in fights whenever they get bullied. I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to the dean's. It was kind of ridiculous. Like it was a lot, but that was just who I was. And I loved like just being close with administration. I loved being close with my teachers. My teachers definitely, they loved me so much and I loved them. I just never really was, I guess, in the same mindset as a lot of the students around me. I was getting my work done as soon as it hit my desk. I was turning in my homework early, as quick as I could, turn in all my assignments on time. I'd never had a missed assignment all of my upbringing. I'm just somebody who's very on it, and I like to be a straight A star student, to be honest. So during this time period, this is, I feel like, a big part of kind of what formed who I was as a person, because now those years of my middle school, I went through a lot of bullying and whatever. I feel like everybody does. It's not something that broke me, but it is part of my story. And actually, what's crazy is a lot of it goes back to my nose. So my nose, I broke my nose a couple times as a kid, and it had this little big bump on it. And kids were so mean about it. Truly, this is what I got bullied for so freaking long, for multiple years of my life. And kids would take pictures of my nose, they would blow up my nose, and they would make Instagram pages specifically for Savannah Schaefer's nose. And that was another reason why I was always in the dean's office, because I was like, look at what these people are doing to me. Look at what these kids are doing to me. I was so upset. And I mean, it's all keyboard warriors, so they can't really do much, but it's what I was going through, and it was a lot, but I just kept trucking along, and I just always told myself, it's fine. Like, I really don't care. I never let it really get to me that badly, but of course it did bother me at times. And then once I got into high school, I actually went to a new high school that nobody else was going to. So everybody went from the middle school that I went to the next high school that was closest in the area. And I decided to go to a completely different high school to start fresh, completely new. And I thought, oh, okay, if I go to this new high school, no one's going to know me. No one's going to know my insecurities. I thought maybe I was just kind of projecting that I was super insecure about my nose. And that's the reason why other people pointed it out to me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in with a clean slate, not knowing anybody, and just see what happens. I get into high school, and people are still, unfortunately, making fun of me. And I remember these two kids in one of my classes, they would literally find pictures of birds, and they would go ahead and they'd show their neighbor next to them and be like, look, this is Savannah's nose. They would just be so nasty. And so during this time, during my high school years, I literally would sit at the front of the classroom with the whiteboard next to me, the smartboard next to me. All of the other kids would be facing me because I didn't want to be seated next to anyone who could see my nose from the side. That's how bad it bothered me. I just didn't want people to see me from my profile because I knew that they would be looking at my nose, or I thought they'd be looking at my nose and just think that I looked some type of way. And it was just bad. It was really, really, really bad. So I ended up actually getting a nose job at 17. I got a nose job my sophomore or junior year. It was Christmas. I remember it was Christmas break. I literally came back to school with a new nose. I remember I posted on Instagram, new year, new nose, and just left it at that. And it was honestly the best thing that I could have done for myself. I'm so happy that I did that. I actually did that with my own money. I paid for it myself. I'm happy that that's where I ended up putting my money because I really, truly wanted it so badly, and it really helped my confidence. It was just a crazy time. So fast forward my senior year of high school. This is when my entrepreneurship journey kind of began. As a kid, I always did lemonade stands. I loved to make money in any possible way. If I could be babysitting the next door neighbor's kids, I was going to be doing that. If I could be picking up someone's dogs for walks. I was doing it. Anything that I could make money through, I was taking advantage of always. I was always just getting after any opportunities coming my way. So during my senior year, I got a random DM. I remember it was in the middle of October. I got a random DM from this girl that lived in Ohio and didn't know who she was, but she just said, hey, I have this opportunity where you can make some money online. It's selling beauty products. Would you be interested? And immediately I was very skeptical of it. I was like, no freaking way. Like, there's no way it's this easy, whatever. But I started seeing all these girls on Instagram living their best life, traveling all over, buying things that they loved. I just saw the vision and I was like, you know what? I'm 17 and a half. Why not? These girls are 25, like making $1 million. Why not? Let's just see where it goes. So I ended up joining this beauty company. I was with the beauty company for 4 years. During those 4 years, I graduated high school. I was going into college to become a teacher at first. When I had my graduation party after finishing up my senior year, I even said there, I was like, I'm so excited to become a teacher. I really wanted to teach high school math. Math was the thing that I was really, really good at. And I loved all of my math teachers and I just had great relationships with all of them. So I really wanted to be a high school math teacher. I wanted to teach junior or senior students. And I was just so excited to go into that. And then as I said that out loud, my dad kind of pointed out, like, Savannah, you love business. Why? Why would you want to become a teacher? You love business so much. And my passion was truly in teaching and leading people. Like, I love, love, love leading people. And I feel like that's the reason why I always resonated so much with my teachers and things like that, because I love leaders. And so I ended up going to college, signed up to be a teacher. Then I switched as soon as I found out that I wanted to go more into the business side of things. I decided to switch it into communications and marketing. I didn't want to do business specifically because I didn't want to go into all of the business classes because there was a lot of like calculus and things that I just didn't really care about. So I was like, I'm going to go into communications and marketing and I'll just learn more about business that way and communicating. And then I will just learn more about like what I'm currently doing. This is the business that I want to be in for the rest of my life. Or so I thought. Like what thing that I was doing with the beauty company, I just wanted to gain more knowledge there and like figure out how I could be a better business owner through going to college. So I'm in college, I'm doing all of my classes, and this is 2019, 2020. So mid-pandemic, I am doing all of my classes online. It's getting a little bit annoying. I'm managing my business, working full-time in my business. My business was taking off in COVID. Oh my gosh. I was 19 years old, just LIVIN, baby. I was living. It was crazy. It was so freaking dope. I was making great money in my company that I was working with. And then I actually ended up earning the Cadillac that this company had attached to the compensation plan. So I earned the Cadillac. My team is just thriving. And I am going on a trip in September of that year. I go on a trip to Florida with all of the other girls that I work with. And while I'm there, I'm like taking time away from this trip to go into the bedroom and go get some schoolwork done. And as I'm doing it, I'm so annoyed by even doing any schoolwork. And one of my friends come out and she's like, hey, why are you going to school? And I was like, well, I'm just trying to gain more knowledge in what I'm currently doing. Like, I just want to be a business owner, but I just am kind of going just to go. And she was like, do you need to? Have you ever thought about dropping out? And I am so not a quitter whatsoever. I am someone who always sees it through. I will figure it out. I will deal with it and whatever. But when she said that, I actually sat back for a second and thought, dang, am I really wasting my time right now? Do I really need to be in college? And so on that trip, I just took time to reflect on this. And then I remember sitting on the beach on my beautiful little beach towel. And I was like, you know what? I decided I think I'm going to try to cut back on some of my classes and then we'll see what happens. I call UNLV and I asked them if I could drop some of my classes. And they said to me, if I want to get any kind of refund, I would have to fully drop out. So I said, okay, fine. I drop out. So I'm on this trip in Florida. I drop out of college and then I get home and I tell my parents. I'm crying at the kitchen table. I felt so bad. I never wanted them to be disappointed in me. Like, that's so important to me. It's such a huge value. As my parents just being proud of all the decisions that I'm making, and I'm sitting there and I'm crying and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I just know this is what's meant for me. And I know that I am in love with learning. Learning is something that I am always doing, and I want to actually learn about the things that I desire to learn about. And I don't want to be forced to learn about all of these other topics that I have no interest in, or read these textbooks that aren't really getting me anywhere. I just want to be able to learn freely. And I promised myself that I was going to learn more outside of college than I learned inside of college. That was the commitment that I made to myself. And oh my gosh, as soon as I did that, every single thing started to fall into place so well. So I dropped out in September. Then October comes, I end up getting my Cadillac. And in August of that same year, I actually ended up moving out of my parents' house at 19, completely on my own, getting my own apartment, a beautiful apartment. And then 2 months later is when I traded in my car and I got my Cadillac. And just everything was at such a high point in my life. It was so freaking cool. And this is in the midst of the pandemic. And I'm over here just grinding 12-hour days in my business, just making sure that I am locked in and I'm seeing the results that I actually want. When I lived at my parents, I was spending every single day just locked in my bedroom. And they wanted me to come out and hang out with them and do whatever. And I was just like, no, like I'm building something right now. I am building a business and my girls are killing it. I'm killing it. And this is the zone I'm in. And it was awesome. I loved that season of my life. I was doing so much journaling. I was diving in deep. 2019, I actually invested into my first coach, and that was so freaking cool. I spent like $2,000 investing into this coach, and that was the beginning of my manifesting and law of attraction journey. So fast forward into 2020, I'm very into manifesting, and I've got my Cadillac now that I've been literally envisioning every single day. Everything was just really falling into place. So all these things are going great. Then end of 2020, I go through probably the hardest time of my life. 2020, my mom was going through it really, really bad when it comes to depression and suicide. And December 27th of 2020, my mom actually attempted to commit suicide. And that was the turning point for all of us, I feel like, as a family. It really affected me in a way that, like, I think it affected all of us very differently. But for me, I really threw myself into self-care, working my business, focusing on myself. And I just had to control what I could control during that time. I think that it really just showed me how important it is to continue to put yourself first, because what I had witnessed from all of this time of being around my mommy is my mommy never really put herself first. She put herself last. And it did some damage. It didn't allow her to flourish as a human being. She always was pouring into everyone else's cup, and her cup was completely empty. And it was crazy. It was such a life-changing moment for all of us. She ended up getting some help, and we had some family meetings and things and just did our best to support her during that time. And I continued to just stay focused on what I was doing. 2021, I was in a relationship, so I just kind of was spending my time doing that. Then that relationship ended. I was with this guy from maybe December to February of 2021. I ended up ending that relationship, and then I just kind of was on my own and just working on me, fully getting into my own work, my own body, my own vibe, just flourishing as a person. And then I end up meeting Mr. Tyler Bird. I end up meeting the man that I now have a baby with. I met him on June 3rd, and I literally walked up to him in the gym and I saw him lifting more weight than I have ever seen any human being lifting. And I walked right up to him and I said, I'd like to connect with you. And he gave me his phone number, and I texted him, and I just texted him Savannah Schaefer, my first and last name. And he texts me back and he says, "Good morning, gorgeous." And at that point, we literally never went a day without speaking since. It's crazy. So I really shot my shot there. I locked down a really great man. I'm so grateful. But it was such a crazy time of my life. And during that time, I was just, like I said, I was just thriving. I was the most confident version of myself. I was doing so much work on me and who I am. And I just was in my own vibe and energy. And it was clearly attractive. I remember that time of my life literally like men passing me on the street. Everyone was trying to get my number. It was crazy. I was magnetizing these men. And I just genuinely feel like it was just the energy that I was putting out. Like I knew my worth. I knew who I was. And I knew the value that I was bringing. I also had like just finished 75 hard. I just was just vibing. I was just thriving at that time. It was so freaking cool. So I attracted this man into my life. And during that time period, I'm working my business really, really hard. This network marketing company that I was in, by that time, I had been in the company for about 3 years. And I actually started to notice my business start to plateau during this time. So I was bringing girls in, but then they were kind of falling off. I was recruiting. I was getting new clients all the time, but my business just wasn't growing financially, or the income side of it just wasn't really picking up the way that I had hoped it would. It was just kind of stagnant. And by the time of end of 2021, I was just like, man, okay, I'm going to just do everything that I can, but I guess we're just going to have to see like where this goes. 2022 comes and I'm dating Ty. I'm living my life. Then my 21st birthday is on April 20th. And I go to Nashville. We have such a good time there. Ty and I go together. Then we go on a trip in June to go to Zion National Park in Utah. During that time period, Ty and I were just in such a freaking great place. Oh my gosh, like we had the best time together. I feel like that trip was really the trip where we were like, we truly dig each other on such a different level. And it was just really like where we found, I feel like, our spark, like a beautiful, beautiful flourishing of the beginning of a relationship. And then at that same time period, I kind of was letting him know like, hey, my business is at a stagnant point and I am probably going to have to move back in with my parents or something else has got to happen. And this man decided to open up his home to me. So he said, you know what? I see the position that you're in. Mind you, he is 11 and a half years older than me. He's almost 12 years older than me. Love him. And I think that when we first got together, we just didn't think it was going to go anywhere. Like, I think that I was dating this older guy. He was dating this younger girl. We had such a great time together, but I just don't think that we thought it was going to be anything serious until we got deeper into the relationship, like around my 21st birthday. And then going into Zion together, like we just realized things were kind of picking up and becoming a cool vibe. And then during that same time period, I was like, listen, I'm either going to have to move in with my parents or I'm going to have to do something else. And he opened his home up to me. He said, you can stay with me. And as we start moving in my stuff slowly, I ended my lease early. I start moving into his place and we're just moving boxes like day by day, like here and there. I just started spending the night here and just moving our stuff like progressively. And during that same time period, we go out on a date night and I talk to him about my period being late. My period ends up being late by 12 days. And we're both a little bit concerned. A couple months prior, we had my period late by 10 days. So I was like, you know what? Like, it's probably just doing the same thing. I'm getting all the period symptoms. I'm sure it's going to come. Like, it's going to come, babe. We're fine. We're fine. We're not pregnant. We're good. And then we look up the symptoms of pregnancy, and the symptoms of pregnancy are literally the exact same symptoms of you going on your period. So we go out to dinner on this like Friday night. We go out to dinner together, and Saturday morning I say, okay, I'm going to take this pregnancy test. And mind you, on Thursday, the day before this date night, Thursday, I'm riding in my car. We're texting about me possibly being pregnant. And I say, babe, I am not pregnant. Like, I'm totally fine. And as I send that message, I'm listening to the song called Kids by MGMT. And they say in the song, it says, a baby is born. So a baby is born. And it says that as soon as I hit the send button. And he's like, we're pregnant. Like, I'm like, no, we're not, babe. We're not. And it says, a baby is born. And as it says that, I click in my mind and I'm like, oh my gosh. I look up in the rearview mirror and his exact model of his truck is right behind me. Same color, same model, same year. And I was like, ugh. I literally said out loud, there's no way I'm pregnant. No way I'm pregnant. Like, no, is that the universe? No. I literally was like, there's no way this is happening right now. And it happened. So we go out to dinner the next day and I just tell him, I'm like, listen, if we are pregnant, this is only a couple months into our relationship being that serious, to be honest. I'm like, if we're pregnant, what is the situation here? And he's like, if we're pregnant, I'm going to raise this kid by myself if you're not raising it with me. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're on the same page. Like, we're both down to have a baby. Like, cool. I didn't really think that we were going to be on the same page just because the few months ago when we were actually worried about me being pregnant, he was like, oh, how could we have a kid right now? And so was I. I was like, we're not in the position to have a kid. But then when reality hits and it's a possibility that you might be pregnant, you have to make that decision. Like, are you going to have a baby or are you not? And we were both like, you know what? We're going to just see what happens. We'll see if we're pregnant. And if we are, then we're having a baby. So we go out to dinner. We have a great dinner together. Next morning, I wake up. I take a pregnancy test. I look at the box, look at the test, look at the box, look at the test, and it says positive. And I'm like, I look up in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he looks at me and he goes, we're pregnant? And I go, we're pregnant? And we hug and we find out whatever. And it's like this whole thing. Of course, finding out that you're pregnant is such a miraculous, but also terrifying, such a crazy experience. And it was just craziness from there. I went to go tell my sister and then I told all of my family and the whole thing unfolded. And then at that time period, I was still working this business. I was still working my network marketing company. So I'm about 4 years into working this business. I've hit a plateau year 3 and I got pregnant in June. So by the end of that year, by around like December or so, I just remember sitting down with him and just being like, dude, my checks are getting lower and I can't do this. Like, I cannot be living my life this way. I was pulling money from my savings every single month and it was just putting me in a space that I didn't want to be in. So I said out loud, finally, I was holding on to this dream as tight as I could. I was grasping it in my hands. Like, it's going to turn around. I had so much, like, just crossing my fingers and just hoping and praying, like, please, please, please let this be the month that finally changes everything. Please let me, like, build a bigger business. Like, please, please, please just make this happen for me. And it just wasn't happening. There was no change for so long. And eventually I just said out loud, I think the universe is telling me to pivot. I think that's what's going on. And so I finally said, you know what? I don't think that I can continue this. I think that I'm supposed to be doing something else. And Tyler asked me straight up, he said, what would you want to be doing? What would you do for free if you could right now? And I said, well, I know I want to be a mentor. I know I want to be a coach. I know I want to help people. I do. That's my passion. I love doing it. And he's like, well, when are you planning on doing that? And I was like, well, I just figured I would do that when I'm 24, 25. That's in the future. He's like, what are you waiting on? Why would you wait on that? If you know that's what you want to do, why would you be waiting on what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I was like, you're so right. Okay, all right, fine. I'll start putting things together and I'll just start kind of entertaining the idea. Let's just see. So January comes, I start booking calls from these girls who said that they were interested in the company that I was working with. So I get in calls with 2 separate girls and they both say, hey, oh my gosh, I'm resonating with your post so much right now. I'm loving everything that you're doing. And I know that you're still working with that company, but I don't know what to do because I want to get mentored by you and I want to be in your energy and I want to be around you, but I don't want to sell those products. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take you on as my client and I would love to help you. I'd love to help you personally, one-on-one. Let's do calls every single week and I will help you with the things that you're dealing with in your life. And that is literally how my coaching business began because I just decided to make that decision. This is the direction that I want to go. And I feel like the universe just helped me so much. Yes, Savannah, like this is where you're supposed to be focusing your energy and helping people in this way and just making a bigger impact than I've ever made. And it was so awesome. It's been such a great transition into my life. I did that right before I had Aria. So I got my first client for my coaching business in January and then I had Aria in February. I took 1 full month off of my business, of like my coaching business. Then I was also creating content for some brands, doing UGC. And it was such a amazing time. And I just am so grateful that the universe really did redirect me. Like truly, I kept seeing these signs of, Savannah, you got to make a switch. You got to change something. And I wanted to ignore them so badly, but I knew that I was just born for something that was more soul fulfilling. And this is so much more soul fulfilling. What I do now is my absolute passion. It doesn't feel like work to me. It feels so effortless. It feels so easy. I love helping people in the way that I'm helping people. And it's just making such a big impact in everyone else's life. My cheeks hurt from smiling so hard of just like saying all this because I just love it so freaking much. So that, oh my gosh, that is how I've got to where I am today. And during all this time of starting my entrepreneurship journey, I am now in year 6 of entrepreneurship. Holy crap, ya girl. Like, I cannot believe that I am where I am today. And I'm so freaking proud of the work that I have put into my mind and shifting things and seeing new perspectives and always being reflective and just doing the inner work that is so necessary, but a lot of people turn away from. I have been addicted to personal development since I found it my senior year of high school. And I feel like that is what accelerated my whole process of entrepreneurship and just who I am today. I've worked with different coaches and mentors, business coaches, personal coaches, all kinds of things. And it's just allowed me to grow so much as a human being and just really take hard looks in the mirror and just go through this whole journey of evolving and growing and developing. And I'm just so grateful for it. That gives you a little bit of an insight of where I'm at now. I am full-time coaching. It has taken me obviously so long to get to such a place where I feel so extremely aligned. I kind of mentioned in my last podcast about how I really went through a phase of being unaligned. And I feel like those years of where my business was kind of in a stagnant point, that's when I was not as aligned as a person. I was not really aligned and taking action from a place that felt good and exciting. I was really just in a place of forcefulness. I was very in my masculine. I was working so freaking hard. And if I took any time off, I felt extremely guilty. I went through a lot during those few years. Obviously, I was dealing with things with my mom. I was dealing with things internally of trying to get through limiting beliefs, but not being able to fully dive into my psyche of like knowing where things were coming from. And I just feel like over time, I've really allowed myself to go inwards, go deeper, and continue to evolve and develop as a human being. And I'm just so thankful that that's the journey that I've been so committed to and just on for so long. I feel like with me deciding to always focus on evolving, I have inspired so many people to do the same, including Tyler, which is so cool. Like seeing his development as a human being as well has just been so special. And I just feel like everyone around me gets to evolve the more that I evolve. And that's really cool. It drives me so much just knowing that my actions can make an impact on anyone else around me and they can choose to progress in a great way as well. And that's really like what I'm using all of my social media for and all of my platforms, this podcast for. Is like at the end of the day, all I want you to do is just become a better human being. That's it. I just want you to continue to evolve, continue to recognize the things in yourself that you want to work on, that you want to change, because I have a lot of things that I am working on. Like, you guys don't really know like all the things that I work on behind the scenes. And this is why I love that I'm going to have this space to share these things, because your girl is always dealing with something, but like in the best way. Like I am always diving through my psyche. All of my closest friends, which, oh my gosh, so grateful for my closest friends right now. I have really, really solid human beings in my life. And it took me a minute to get these girls, but these girls are also on the same page as me. It's like they're so reflective. They go inwards. They really question themselves and they ask themselves, like, why are you the way that you are? And they challenge me. They hold me accountable to always grow too. So I just want to create a community of girls who are so down to do the dirty work, to do the shadow work, to do the journaling, to meditate, to go to whatever they need to get inspired and just pour into themselves in a beautiful way. Because my personal belief is that when we can do the work that is needed, we can evolve into the best freaking versions of ourselves and we can inspire everyone else around us to become best versions of themselves. Like that is why my whole thing is all about like vibrant energy, like stepping into the most vibrant version of yourself, not the version of yourself that's dimmed and quiet and small, the version of yourself that walks into a room with her head held high, feeling so confident, so excited, all good vibes. She is that girl. I want you to always be in that energy because it feels great when you're just, you know yourself on such a deep level. You know all of the sides of you that maybe some people don't know. And it's just great to be on that vulnerable level with who you are as a human being and knowing that you're always evolving. Like I am never going to sit here and act like a freaking pro I'm never going to sit here and act like I'm an expert or I know everything. I am always learning and evolving. I'm never going to sit here and act like I'm above any of you guys because I am on the exact same page of you guys. I am dealing with probably very similar things that you're dealing with. I just have found different tools and different ways to go about how I deal with things, and it helps so much. So yeah. All right. Let me get off my soapbox. Oh my gosh. I am very excited to share this. I feel like I've really wanted some space to just share my full essence of who I am, how I've got here. And if you stuck with me all this time, I appreciate you so freaking much. Thank you for being here. I love you. Like, truly, I am sending you energy right now as you listen to this, like, for reals. So thank you. I appreciate you for giving me the space to be open and honest. And I hope that you guys know a little bit more about me. If you guys have any recommendations of topics that you guys want covered or any questions, you guys have like anything that's on your mind that you want to just share with me or any realizations that you have, please always send me a DM on Instagram. Text me if you have my number. I am your girl. I'm always in your corner. I'm always here to support you. And I just care about you so deeply. So, thank you so much.